Hello, everybody. My name is Dino, and in about 10 minutes, you're going to stand up your own email security gateway with spam, antivirus filtering, encryption, SPF, DKIM, DMARC, the whole thing. Self-hosted, all in one box for free. So there are going to be no mailbox fees, no cloud vendor. Let's deploy. Hermes is a free open source secure email gateway and mail server. You can run it in three ways. You can run it as a gateway, a full mail server, or hybrid. As a gateway, you can run it in front of your Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, Exchange, or any other email server backend. Full mail server, you can run it with its own mailboxes, webmail, calendar, contacts. And the third way is hybrid, where some domains are gatewayed and some are hosted. Everything I show today is on the community edition, which is AGPL. It's free, and it's the full product with no limitations. There's also a paid pro tier with operational add-ons for businesses, but we're not going to need any of that today. Let's get started. The first thing you want to do is go to our website at www.hermes.se. Once there, click on the download free. And this is going to take you to our system requirements. And you want to spend some time looking those over. Obviously, you're going to need a Linux distribution capable of running Docker and Docker Compose. You're going to want to start off with 4 CPUs and adjust higher if you're expecting higher mail volume. Start off with 8 gigs of RAM. You're going to need about 275 gigs of hard drive space, and obviously a static IP or a DHCP reservation. Also spend some time looking over at the firewall rules below. Hermes requires a bunch of inbound and outbound ports. And if you're going to be using the mailbox mode, obviously you're going to need inbound ports for POP, IMAP, SMTP submission, and all that good stuff. Continue to scroll down to where it says get the code and click on view on GitHub. This is going to take us to our GitHub page. And scroll down to, let's take some time looking over at the storage topology. Hermes requires 5 independent tiers of storage. The install script is going to ask you for all those tiers during installation. So let's go over them. Obviously, the config tier, that's already built in. This is where you're going to do the actual installation. This is where the Docker Compose file is, the secrets, the environment files. So that should be a fast SSD. The data tier, that's where all your databases, your logs, your mail filter state, your postfix queue are all going to live. That should be a fast SSD and size for your anticipated database growth. Then you're going to need your archive tier. This is where your email archive is going to live. That can be, cheap bulk type of storage. And you're also going to need storage for your mailboxes. This is where Dovecot is going to be storing all its emails that are coming in. And then, of course, storage for Nextcloud for the files, since Nextcloud offers file storage. So that does not have to be very fast either. And here's an illustration of the storage tiers. Ideally, all those tiers should be on their own hard drives, on their own storage, but they don't have to be. They can be just, if you don't anticipate a whole lot of mail volume, you could just create simple directories on a single drive. Ensure those storage tiers are already available before you attempt to start the installation. And then continue to scroll down to the actual installation piece. The installation is super simple. You copy these commands, which basically the first command is going to clone our GitHub repository. It's going to change into the clone directory. And then the second is going to simply run the installer. For this demonstration, I'm using a box with just a single drive. As you can see right here, I just have a simple 250 gig drive. So in order to accommodate the 4 storage tiers that Hermes requires, I'm simply going to create directories. So I'm going to create a directory for the data, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a directory for the archive storage, create a directory for the mailbox storage, and then I'm going to create a directory for the files. So that's all you really need as a bare minimum. And back in the GitHub, I'm going to go ahead and copy the clone repository command. And then I'm just going to simply paste it in here. And we're going to go ahead and clone the GitHub repo into our installation directory. I like to have my installation directory under /opt. Obviously adjust to your needs. And then go ahead and run the installation script. So I'm going to do sudo and scripts and then install Hermes. Go ahead and accept the license agreement and then click Y to continue. So the installation is going to go through some pre-flight checks, and then it's going to ask you for the 4 storage tier paths. Since I already created them, I'm going to go ahead. You can, if yours are different than mine, you can just go ahead and just type them in, or you can just, if they're exactly the same as the ones I created, which are the defaults, you can simply click enter. So, and last one, the files. Now it's going to ask you for the IP address that's going to be used to access the server. In my case, it's going to be 192.168.30.27. It's going to ask you to verify that. Make sure you get this right. And then it's going to ask you for what host name for mail you're going to want to use. So I'm just going to simply call it Hermes test. And then the system is going to automatically derive the domain name based on the FQDN you just typed. So in this case, it's going to be domain.tld. It's going to ask you to verify that and accept. And then it's going to ask you for your DNS server, for your environment DNS server. So in my case, it's going to be 30.1, enter. And then it's going to start the installation. This is going to take a few minutes. It's going to download all the images, do some pre-flight checks, and continue the installation. Once it pulls all the images, it's going to go ahead and create all the databases, and it's going to automatically create credentials for Hermes, the database, and everything else that it's needed, and it's going to display them and also put them into a summary file towards the end. Then it's going to go ahead and create the local LDAP structure. And then it's going to go ahead and customize the Nextcloud application and install the various apps. And now it's done. So as you can see, if you scroll up over here, this is the summary, installation summary. As you can see, it's giving you the admin login credentials, the Nextcloud admin login credentials. So you're going to want to save all these. And also, not only is it going to display it over here, it's also going to, it has already created a file called install summary right here on the installation directory. So if you just do an ls right here, all that information is saved in there for you. So you can see right here, it has to access the console, the admin username and password, and all that good stuff. So you're going to want to save that in a safe place somewhere else. A good thing you might want to do is just to run the smoke test after the installation, making sure everything is okay. So if you go under the scripts, there's a script called Hermes smoke test. So if you go ahead and run that, it's going to go through and make sure everything got installed correctly. So what you're really looking for is fail. You want to make sure that is set to 0. On a brand new installation, this warning sign about SMTP filters is completely normal, so you can go ahead and ignore that. Okay, so we're in good shape on that. So we're going to go ahead and log in to the admin console. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the install summary again so I can have the credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the username. Then I'm going to jump on a web browser and type in the IP address on box. Obviously, it's going to have a self-signed certificate, so you just have to get through the warning right here. And then click on this page right here, click on the sign in to the admin console. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the username that I just copied. And then I'm going to go back into the install and copy the password that it generated for us. And then going to paste that into the browser. And if everything went well, we should be able to log in into the admin console. And as you can see right here. So this is the dashboard right here. As you can see, it's giving you the build information, the fact that it's the community edition, which is what we're going to be using, your uptime, obviously the console IP. It's going to give you the status of your updates. Obviously, there's no email going through this system because it's brand new, but if there were email going through here, you'll see a tally of every kind of email that went through, and then it also is going to show you your CPU utilization under system resources, CPU memory, root file, which is going to be your installation directory, then the data, the archive, the vmail, and the Nextcloud utilization. One of the main things you may want to do is go ahead and change your admin password. So you just go into System and then go under System Users. So you're going to see the username that the system created for you. And if you click on the Edit button, you can go ahead and set the user password to yes, and then go ahead and type in a new password, and then click on Save Changes. I'm not going to do that right now. You can also go ahead and create additional system users. If you so wish, just click on the Create System User, and in the window that pops up, type in your username, email address, first name, last name. Obviously, you're going to want to set up two-factor authentication for all your admin accounts. So you can do it on a new one that you create, or you can do the same thing over here with the one that the system built in for you. So you can set it to two-factor, set your username and password, and go ahead and click the Save Changes. One thing that you might want to do is go back to our GitHub page and scroll down to the documentation, and then click on under the online documentation, click on installation of reference. And there you'll be able to look at the Get Started guide, something very useful to go through, depending on what kind of installation mode you want to do. It's going to go through what the installation script already did for you, what you should do in order to get your system configured. So if you want to configure it as a relay, if you want to configure it as a mail server, or if you want to configure it in a hybrid mode. You also want to read about setting up TLS certificates, DNS, all that good stuff. All those steps are outlined over here. Going to go back over here real quick, back to the admin console, just kind of show you around. The console is organized in a logical flow. So on the left hand, you have your system, which got various system functions. get your mail queue, your system logs. You can manage your certificates right here, your TLS settings. And then under the email relay, this is where you go and actually manage the relay domains and the relay recipients. And under email server, this is where you go manage your actual mailbox domains and recipients. Then you have a bunch of content checks. We can actually set up your SPF, DKIM, DMARC, auth, antivirus, malware feeds, all that good stuff. And then you have your email policies. Most of the stuff is pro, so most people are not going to need them. And then, of course, encryption, where you can set up your CA here, so you can do SMIME or PGP encryption or PDF encryption and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and go through the demonstration of adding a domain here. So if you go under email relay and click on domains, and then you can go ahead and create a domain. So I'm going to go ahead and create a domain called testdomain.tld. So this is for actually relaying email into a backend mail server. So we're going to add a domain. So this is where you specify where Hermes is going to relay email to. So this is going to be your backend mail server. So I'm just going to pretend this is an Exchange server, and then you can specify what port number you want it to deliver, and then click on add domain. Once a domain is added, you can go ahead and do things like set up a DKIM. So I'm going to click on the DKIM key, set up a selector, click submit, and then once it creates the DKIM key, you can go ahead and view your public key. And this is what you're going to actually put into your DNS server. Your private key, you don't need it for anything. The system is going to automatically manage that. One of the main things you're going to want to do is, obviously, you're going to want to assign an FQDN to your Hermes box, and also assign an actual real certificate. So you go enter system and then go under console settings. As you can see, the console address right now, console being this piece right here, the admin or user console. Right now we're accessing via the IP address. Obviously you want to change that into an actual FQDN. So ensure you have a DNS entry set up for your Hermes box. So, and make sure it points to the IP address of the server. So, and then once you have all that set up, you're just going to you can set this up right here. And once you do that, once you click on save and apply settings, the system is automatically going to save this FN as the address that's going to use to actually access the box. So make sure your DNS is set up correctly beforehand. And once you do that, then you can go ahead and set up a certificate under system certificates right here. You can, in terms of certificates, you can actually get a third-party certificate, or you can request an Acme certificate. All that information, all these instructions are all included under our documentation. Documentation page can be found under our book stack. So you can simply go to docs.dstech.com right here and then click on Hermes SEG Docker. And then you have the administrator guide, the user guide, and of course the installation and reference. So under the administrator guide, you can see everything that you need to know about setting everything up. If you have any questions about Hermes, and if you need any help, you can always go to our website at hermesseg.io, click on the support link, and then you'll see there is quite a few channels that you can utilize to get support. Obviously, you can use GitHub discussions, Matrix, and Telegram. That concludes this video. Please leave comments below, subscribe, like. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.